Previously, we've talked about running period routines such as aging and paid transaction removal. Today, let's look at printing customer billing statements. Again, you should always start with the aging process, and under routines and sales, you would just simply click on aging, and I just want the process to run. I don't need a report, so I'll click on no report. And all of my accounts are aged as of today. Now I'll go into the statement section, and I'll choose a statement ID. I'm going to create my own statement ID, so we'll actually call this, let's call it all past due. And then I'll have a place for a description for all past due customers. That's just for me to distinguish between one statement ID and another. When I print, do I want to print statements or alignment forms? I'll choose statements, and then I'll select an address, one of my addresses that I want to be my return address on the statement. I'll choose which form I want to use, and you could choose any of these. They're all essentially going to work the same way. I'm going to choose on blank paper, and then it asks me basically how I want my statements sorted. And I'm going to just sort them by customer ID. And then on my documents, inside each statement, how do I want those sorted? And I'm going to sort those by document number. Essentially, document number and date due are basically the same thing if a customer has consistent payment terms. Over to the right, I can tell it which date I want to print. Now I'm going to change this to current date so that it'll always print as of this date. Otherwise, I'd have to manually edit it each time. And then it asked me about summarizing. Now this is like your credit card statement where it'll say your balance as of a certain date. And I'm going to just choose enter date, and I'm going to choose a date that was quite some time ago that I know I have no customer invoices prior to that. So it won't ever summarize anything. And then I could choose a cutoff date if I want, and I'll just leave that blank. Now, here's the question that gets a lot of people. What do we want to print for? And I'm just going to let it include the default for starters, which is everything except excluding fully paid payments and consolidating national accounts. I want it, regardless of the statement type, open item or balance forward. And I want it to print everything, credit limits, finance charges, payment terms, and messages. I'll go into destination. I'm going to send this to the screen so we could look at it. And I'll click on save. And now let's pull it back up and let's print to the screen. And let's take a look at what we have going on. Now statements are going to print only for those items that have a status of open. So this is why it's important to read and paid transaction removal. And you notice we have all of the credit limits, payment terms, and everything that we told it to include. And then we have all of this other information. And this statement could look very confusing to a customer, so let's clean it up a little bit. I'm going to come in here, and we're going to use the Windows Multi-Select feature. I want it to include customers with a period balance. I want it to include customers with a past due balance, and I'm holding my control key down. Customers with a credit balance. If they're paid in full, I don't want a statement. No activity, no statement. Zero balance, no statement. I don't want it to show, or do not want it to show applied payments, but I do want it to exclude fully applied payments so they don't appear. So now let's save and pull it back up, and let's look at the difference in our statement now. Now, you noticed before it was continued on a previous page, and now we're down to one page. So it's much easier to read. And we can see, like this particular line is a return. It is not fully applied, therefore the full amount is showing up. That makes it a little bit easier to monitor what's going on. So this will help your customer. A couple more items I want to point out are messages. You can actually attach messages for different scenarios. So you could have it 3 lines for all statements, and if someone's very past due, you can really put in and say, you know, we're gonna get you. So you could do all kinds of crazy things if you want. And then if they have a balance that falls in that window, it'll automatically appear on the screen. Let's see if we have any. This statement was one of those. Yep, there you go. We're going to get you. Now, another thing you can do is choose to email. If you have email addresses set up for your customers' addresses or in their customer address card, you could choose to email customers directly and even have an email section. So you could either print or you can email directly out of the system. Emailing will save you a great deal of time, and then all you'd have to do is pull it up. And this is when it's really important to put in these default dates that don't require changing each time. There, send your customers a billing statement on a regular basis, whether it be monthly, weekly, and it'll help them balance their account to your account. Hope this helps.